We're already seeing a spike in the number of people coming through on our current support service. Beyond Blue is always there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for Australians. We fund that support service entirely through donations, but we're starting to see a surge around COVID-19, and the $10 million from the federal government will enable us to have a purpose-specific line and resources available for people so that we can really intervene early before mental health issues spiral.
What problems are people reporting at the moment?
Well, I think that there's a range of things, from loneliness and isolation, as people are spending a lot of time in their homes. They're not at work. There's none of the sort of social companionship that comes with going to work, all of the conversations that you have in an ordinary day. And we are very much getting the message through that, yes, we've got to be physically distant from each other, but that doesn't mean we should be emotionally distant. We've got to find all the new ways of staying in touch. And then, of course, there are people who are under acute financial pressure, whether that's people who have lost their jobs, been stood down, or small or medium enterprise owners who have had to shut down a business that they've built up over many years, perhaps had to sack staff who are very important to them personally, like a second family. So all of those things coming together do put a lot of mental health pressure on people. Now, not everybody will react the same way. Some people will be fine. Some people will find their own ways of coping. Some people will want to get online on the Beyond Blue website and just, do a bit of a self-check. Some people will use other resources online, perhaps a chat service, but some will want to speak to a mental health professional, and that's what the support line will offer.
The Prime Minister said last week that he feared that more people might die from other factors such as domestic violence or alcoholism, mental health as well, rather than the disease itself. Do you share those concerns?
I think this is, a pandemic that then creates a wave of other problems. We've been talking in Australia a lot about the economic wave that it's creating and how people can be supported to get through. It's clearly going to create a wave of mental health issues as well. So by the time you scan right across all of the implications from this, yes, I think we can foresee that there will be a lot of difficulties that people have to face in their lives. Dislocation from work, isolation, grief, because we do know people have died already, and tragically more people will die from the virus. And that grief will be at a time that people can't go through the usual rituals and support seeking that we do when we lose a loved one, because people will be more isolated than that. So yes, many things to think through, and really it comes down to saying to people, if you think you are getting into some form of trouble and anxiety and distress that is beyond the sort of, usual levels that people would experience at a time like this, reach out and get support.
Can I ask how you think the current government is doing?
Yeah, I'm not in the business of doing scores out of 10 or anything like that. Certainly not when I'm representing Beyond Blue. And as you know, I've made it a rule to not involve myself in domestic politics. My perspective at the moment is really, I think, whether it's the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, the Premiers, the Chief Ministers, their opposition counterparts, everybody broadly is trying to push in the same direction. They've all got Australia's welfare as their motivator. Yes, ideas will vary. People will put forward, alternate plans. That's all to the good, because we do want the best ideas to come forward. But I think everybody's recognising that this is an era for the maximum cooperation.
Do you have any sympathy at all for the current predicament that they're in?
Oh, of course. It's never easy to be a leader. I know about the pressures of leadership, and it does weigh on your shoulders. I mean, you step into that burden willingly, you brace and you take the pressure. But of course, as everybody's going through this, whether it's the Prime Minister or Leader of the Opposition or anybody else, I absolutely feel for them and know that every waking moment they would be devoting to the nation's interest.
Do you think people are reflecting differently on your efforts, the efforts of your government during the GFC?
Oh, look, I'll leave that to the commentators and the historians. I'm sort of pointed forward. And for me, what this time is about, I mean, obviously I'm in self-isolation because I came back from overseas. But what this time is about is across the range of organisations I work with, and Beyond Blue is certainly one of them, making sure that we're doing everything we can to help people through. So I've been very focused on the Beyond Blue work, and in my capacity as chair of the Global Partnership for Education, we've been very focused on what we can do to help poorer countries keep educational continuity, even as they have to close their schools because of the virus, and their schools and systems are even, thinly resourced, not set up for online learning. So it's more of a shock to their system than it is here.